Giannis is officially the all-star captain. We thought maybe it wasn't going to happen for a little while, but we have got the starters. So we're going to discuss whether these are the right guys that should be starting this all-star game. And then LeBron is closing in on Kareem for the point total, and it might just happen against the Bucks. So we want to ask whether that's a good thing. Do we want that history against Milwaukee? And also have a look at Giannis and the rate that he's scoring at and where he can potentially end up. Lots of Giannis today. I'm sure people will be happy about that.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Bucks. My name's Kane Pittman. You can see and hear me on this show Monday to Friday, and also find my work over at ESPN. And we've got the triple threat back, Justin Garcia from the Bucks Radio Network and Camille Davis from this podcast, the Technical Foul Podcast. And we're very privileged to have Camille with us tonight because she's just squeezed in this podcast. She's about to head to her 30th birthday party, and who knows, tear Milwaukee, an absolute new one tonight out on the town. So we're happy that Camille's here. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. And we always thank you for making Locked On Bucks your first watch or first listen of every day, whether it's YouTube or the audio platform. We appreciate it. And continue jumping in on the comments and getting involved in the conversation. When you guys tell us what you want to talk about, we generally do it. But today, our lead topic was pretty simple. Giannis is a captain of the All-Star team. He put this photo up on Instagram. if you're on the audio platform, it's just Giannis saluting with a humongous smile on his face. But let me ask you this, Camille. A couple of weeks ago, I was chatting with a listener in the YouTube comments, and we were discussing the idea that it looked like Kevin Durant was going to be captain. Late push. I don't know whether it was Giannis and his brothers and his family that got this over the line, but I'm happy to see Giannis back as a captain. I wasn't sure it was going to happen, though.
I wasn't sure either, because when the first returns came out and Kevin Durant was ahead, I was like, well, he's been having a really good season. Yeah. So I was like, I could see him being, captain. And after the first returns, I believe Giannis was in the lead from there on out, if not the first, the second. Like, it was from that moment out. Like, once Giannis had that top spot in the voting, he continued to have it. So to see him as captain for me is kind of bittersweet. Love Giannis. I love the fact that, him getting the most votes in the conference earns him that distinction. That's super cool. Really happy about that. But my boy Giannis doesn't seem to draft the strongest teams generally when it comes to the all-star format. And also, I just like watching him and LeBron on the same team a lot of the times. They do some really cool things together. So, I mean, it's an all-star game. It's an exhibition. It's all about having fun as it is. So Captain Giannis and Captain LeBron picking the guys right ahead of the game in itself is going to be super entertaining. I can't wait to see how that goes. I wonder if Giannis's GM skills are a little bit better in person when he's looking at the guys in the face, but it'll be fun. And for him to have that distinction again just goes to show his respect that he gets in the league. I believe amongst the players too, he was a unanimous decision amongst the players, fans, and the media. So that's really cool, especially since some of the discourse around Giannis and the All-Star game was with the four good forwards or front court guys you have in the East, which of the four isn't going to make it? And turned out to be Joel Embiid this time around. But there were some people who said, Giannis should be that guy who's coming off the bench, but he's a captain. So we're starting this year.
I also love the fact that they're going to be picking these teams right before the game. Although I will say, Giannis is a showman. And the Giannis-LeBron dynamic on the TNT broadcast they've done in the past has been absolutely hilarious as well. So I'm wondering what Giannis is going to do just before this game. I'm sure he'll have some tricks or jokes or something like that. But you mentioned the split here. I can't even read that. Let's not worry about that. But Jason Tatum was actually the number one player by the media, which is a little bit surprising to me. I thought it would have been KD or Giannis. As far as the fan vote goes, Justin, I saw some suggestion that, well, Kevin Durant's been injured. I don't think the fans care whether Kevin Durant's been injured. I don't think that was the reason that Giannis overtook him necessarily in the fan vote. And Giannis missed some games recently as well. But if we pull up the East starters all together, so Giannis, obviously the captain, Jason Tatum, as Camille mentioned, is there with KD. So Embiid misses out. Bad luck. But then you've got Kyrie Irving and Donovan Mitchell. I think this is what we expected. Was there any surprise there at all?
No, I don't think there's any surprise. And I mean, I think we've seen gradually the last couple of years, it's pretty close to the most deserving players. I mean, Kyrie Irving is going to be the one that gets the most of a raised eyebrow here, but Kyrie Irving's been really good this year, and a lot of it has been off the court stuff that you didn't know where things were going to go with his season. But in terms of his play and the numbers, Kyrie Irving has certainly played like an all-star. I think if you looked at the 5 most deserving players, you would probably swap out Kyrie Irving for Joel Embiid. But I think it's gonna eventually right itself. I don't anticipate Kevin Durant to play in the game, and Joel Embiid will probably end up starting.
It's interesting that Kevin Durant said that he wants to play. I don't know how the Nets feel about that. They lost to the Pistons tonight. They had a tough one against the Sixers last night as well. So they've lost a couple of games. And by the way, as we're recording this, the Knicks, the mighty New York Knickerbockers, got the job done against the Celtics. Jaylen Brown missed 2 late free throws. I didn't expect that to happen. I thought it was at least going to go to double overtime. Camille, we spoke about Jrue Holiday potentially making the team. I think we predicted that these were going to be the starters. It was based on the votes, and we thought that was going to be the case. So nothing changes here in terms of, I think Justin might have been a little cooler on the idea of this. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling still pretty good that Jrue can sneak in here.
He has a shot. I think as a wild card in particular, when you're thinking about the East, Halliburton definitely is going to get one of those guard spots for sure. And thinking about like Harden, I think Jrue has a stronger case than James Harden does at this point. Trying to think who else is I need to see like the list of
Trae Young. Knows Trae Young was in
there.
No,
Trae's not getting. It's not this year for Trae. I don't think.
Garland. Does the Cavs get a second guard over the Bucks? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I was gonna say where it's gonna be interesting is where the Bucks and Sixers specifically finish in the standings going into that final week, because if the Bucks are second in the East and you play basically the first half of the season, all of it without Chris Middleton, most of it without Joe Ingles, a lot of it without Pat Connaughton, and Giannis already missing as many games as he did a season ago. How do you snub the Bucks a second all-star if they're keeping the pace with the Celtics despite all of that and in second in the East? So I think they would have a more deserving case than Philly getting a second all-star or Cleveland. And it just seems like, I'm not going to say guarantee, but I am about 95% certain that Jrue Holiday is going to make it this time as a reserve. I think he was snubbed last year, and I think everybody kind of recognized, yeah, we should have put Jrue in, not a slight on Chris, but Jrue was the more deserving guy first half last year, and just what he's done. And I think winning the player of the week too is something that's going to help cement his case, doing that a week that Giannis and Chris were both out for extended periods. And we know he's going to get the vote from his peers and coaches because, we've talked about it on this show that for years, every time opposing coaches would come to town, it was always they would be asked questions of Giannis or their answers about the Bucks, and challenges always centered around Giannis. In the last year or so, it's still Giannis heavy, but it's shifted to a lot of, well, Jrue Holiday is another guy we need to pay a lot of attention to for this, this, and this. So he's going to get the votes from his peers and from the coaches. And I think when you look at the rest of the guards, as Camille said, James Harden missed a lot of time, and his numbers aren't great this year. Not that he's having a bad year. Tyrese Maxey's another guy that kind of cooled off a little bit after a torrid start. Halliburton, too, I would expect him to be healthy for the game, but he's still dealing with an injury. So I think all of these things are kind of shaping up for Jrue Holiday to finally get back into the All-Star game.
Of course, the Bucks playing the Pacers tomorrow as well, Friday night in Indy. Tyrese Halliburton, while we're talking about him, he's actually out for that game. Miles Turner is questionable, so a couple of key pieces. So as we also keep our eyes on what the Bucks are actually doing on the court, they might get some injury luck there tomorrow. Giannis is listed as probable with that right knee soreness, and Chris Middleton not on the injury report again. Can that change? It could, but he's only played 15 minutes in these 2 games. I'd probably like to see that get up to 20 tomorrow, and then you start to see how he responds. So we'll see with this Bucks and Pacers game. But as we mentioned, the Celtics lost tonight, and that gap that we thought was widening all of a sudden has started to close again. And maybe we just need the Boston Celtics to play the Orlando Magic a little bit more because they seem to have some trouble there. Before we move on from the All-Star stuff, the West starters, really self-explanatory stuff here, I would have to say. Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, LeBron James, as we mentioned, as the captain, Nikola Jokic, and Zion Williamson as well. Williamson's cool. It's cool to see him in there. He obviously missed some games at the start of the season, but the Pelicans are one of my favorite teams to watch across the league. Speaking of LeBron, though, he's getting very close to this all-time scoring record, and I want to discuss that a little bit more and whether we want him to break that record against the Bucks. I think it's pretty interesting, but first, we have to talk about our friends at LinkedIn. As a small business owner or hiring manager, you know that success in 2023 all depends on the team members you surround yourself with. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. With LinkedIn Jobs, you can hire qualified candidates more efficiently by matching open roles with people who have the skills, values, and experiences to help you achieve your goals. LinkedIn Jobs helps you pretty quickly find the right people. You're not messing around. You're not looking for people that maybe aren't suited to the job. You get to the point straight away. And they go beyond resume data by using insights from your job post company and their 875 million member profiles to put your post in front of the most qualified candidates. LinkedIn Jobs is easy to use. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, if we have a look at LeBron James right now. So I've pulled it up. 157 points behind Kareem, I believe, is where we're at right now. I think you might have tweeted something about it, Justin, but I think 157 is the number. Am I?
So 158 to pass him, yeah.
158 to pass him. All right. So, and then if we look at the Lakers' schedule, you mentioned the back-to-back a little bit earlier. So they've got the Nets and the Knicks on a back-to-back coming up here next. Now, does he play both of those games? That could play a factor into what we're talking about. Then they got the Pacers, the Pelicans, the Thunder, and then the Bucks. So if he plays every game, the Bucks game would be they got the Celtics before the Nets as well. So the Bucks would be the 7th game. Now, the way that he's scoring 158 points in 7 games, it feels like he'll get that sooner. But if he misses one of those games, and let's face it, he likes the theater. He knows what's up here. I think that there would be a part of him at home against the Bucks. I assume Kareem's going to be in the building. Played for both of these teams. Do you think that there's any way, Camille, that LeBron is going to rig this to get it done against the Bucks?
Honestly, I would love to see it happen that way. Like, I know there are some people who are like, you don't want to see your team in the other side of history, but like, this isn't a negative side of history to be on. This is a longevity thing. Like, LeBron has been playing a very high level of basketball for a very, very long time. He started in this league when I was a freshman in high school. And it has been a very, very long time since I was in high school. So to see him still doing this at this level, playing for the Lakers, Kareem's other team, to go and break Kareem's record against the Bucks, his first team, I think that's poetic. Like, it's poetic. You couldn't write it any better in that way if it did play out that way. Now, LeBron has said some things like, I'm not thinking about it, and it'll happen when it happens. As it gets closer, then I'll think about it a little bit more. He might just want to get it over with as well, especially given the way the season has been going for the Lakers. It's been a frustrating season. So he might just continue trying to put the team on his back, doing what he needs to do for the Lakers to succeed. And then when those points come, they come. But honestly, as a fan of basketball and just the sport itself, I hope it's against the Bucks. It would just be poetic, like I said.
So there was some suggestion, and they played the Knicks a few games earlier. It's at Madison Square Garden. That would have been nice. I don't think he's getting these. Well, no, he's not getting it in 3 games. He would have to get 50-plus points a game. That's not going to happen, and play the back-to-back there. But once that looked like that was out of the equation, the Bucks does make sense. Does he want to do it against the Thunder? It's like fine. But you're playing the Bucks. Giannis will presumably be out there. I guess it's a national TV game, Bucks and Lakers. I'm not 100% sure, but I assume it is. To your point about sort of enjoying the history part of this, Camille. So if I can tell a little Australian football story for our listeners here, and I'll try and explain it as best I can, but there is a player that plays for Sydney. His name's Buddy Franklin, and he's one of the greatest goal kickers of all time. And I think that there's only 5 guys that had previously kicked 1,000 goals in Australian football. And he was about to approach this mark, and it happened against Geelong, which is my team. And I can tell you right now, I like Buddy Franklin. I've always enjoyed watching him play. He is awesome. But I was a straight up hater on this night. I was like, whatever happens, I don't even care if Geelong don't win the game, but do not let this happen against Geelong. Not only did he kick the 1,000th goal, but they absolutely smashed Geelong. So I was bitter about it. And the next day, everyone was asking me about it, saying, how cool was that? And I'm like, no, it wasn't cool. I will forever be sour about this milestone. So maybe I'm just bitter and twisted, Justin. But I don't know. I mean, are you going to be watching this game hoping that he gets it, or are you going to be hoping that, Jrue and Giannis and these guys can shut that shit down?
I'm with Camille. I hope he does it against the Bucks. Okay. And
you're gonna get the radio station to send you over for that game, by the way.
I gotta try. Yeah. So where it's interesting is you mentioned the gamesman or the showmanship of LeBron James, and I think that is definitely on display. Yeah. He only had 20 points in the game last night against a bad Spurs team where one, I was kind of surprised that he played, but it was night 2 of a back-to-back. But he's got a lot of national TV games coming up. So Saturday in Boston, that's an ABC game. The first of those 2 New York games, if you had to guess, if LeBron James doesn't play in both of them, it would be the first one against the Nets because that's just an NBA TV game. The following night, it's a TNT game, so you can almost guarantee LeBron is going to be playing on Tuesday the 31st. And then the Bucks game is a national TV game, but the game immediately afterwards too is another ABC game against the Golden State Warriors. I still think it's going to happen against the Bucks. I think he's going to miss one of those games early in the week, especially since it sounds like Anthony Davis is he's already come back, but Anthony Davis is going to be there. That it's not just LeBron James of kind of carrying everything here for this team. So that's another reason of, we can give LeBron a day off here on night 2 of a back-to-back, that it just seems like it's lining up perfectly for everything to fall into place. I mean, LeBron wants that story too of, I broke it in this building where Kareem became the all-time leading scorer, because that Warriors game's a national TV game, but it's on the road. I broke it in the building, or not the same building, but the city where Kareem Abdul-Jabbar became the NBA's all-time leading scorer for the franchise he did it for, and I did it against the team that Kareem began his career with. You couldn't write a better story if you're LeBron James.
Yeah. The other thing is that there's this momentum factor that I'm like, I want the Bucks to win this game. And if he breaks the record that night, the crowd's going to be going crazy. I assume they're going to stop the game. It's going to be this big show and dance, which we totally understand. But I want the Bucks to win the game. I want it just to be smooth sailing. Maybe he does it the game before and just have the night off, LeBron, against the Bucks.
Wouldn't it be even sweeter though? If he gets the record and the Bucks just ruin his night and just like, that's what I mean. I hope the Bucks win. Like, that would be great. I love to see him do it against the Bucks, and the Bucks win. It's kind of like,
that is true.
Well, it's a double-edged sword too. I mean, they're going to slow down the game, and it could be something that impacts the Lakers. Of like, hey, this is all about LeBron James, and now the Bucks are like, great, the record's out of the way. Now we can go win.
No, it's a good point you make. Old pessimistic Pittman needs to pick his chin up off the ground and start to have some good thoughts about this. The interesting thing is that the Bucks actually play. It's a front end of a back-to-back, so I assume all the players are going to want to play the game against the Lakers, particularly if it's a historic night, and to be out there on the floor. And then the next night they play the Clippers, and who knows who's even going to play for the Clippers in that game as well. I want to talk about Giannis' scoring though, and his points tally and where he's at, and maybe where he ends up in the scheme of things. Obviously, the first few years he wasn't scoring big time points, but let's say he's making up for lost time. But first, we're going to talk about our friends over at FanDuel. We're really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On because they're the #1 sports book in America, FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. New customers join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/LockedOn. It has all your favorite sports and all your favorite bets, same game parlays. You can give that a whirl as well. And I'll tell you what else you can do on FanDuel right now. I'm looking at it. we've got the odds for when LeBron is going to break the scoring record. Now, the favorite right now is the game before the Bucks against the Thunder, plus 130. And then after that, the Bucks just are the second favorites, plus 200. So I'm a little surprised that they're not the favorite, but I guess they're assuming that he will have a night off there. The New York Knicks game that I mentioned, which is 3 games away, plus 20,000. Is he going to score 158 points in 3 games? I don't know. Maybe you're feeling adventurous, but check it all out at FanDuel.com and place your first bet, $5 bet that is, and get $150 in free bets, win or lose at FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of Locked On. All right, so Giannis right now with his point scoring total, he's at 15,468. And if you look at the all-time, so first of all, yeah, you look at that and you're like, okay, well, he's 24,000 point. Let's safely assume that he's not going to end up the all-time scoring leader. But there is going to be so many guys that are going to continue to jump this list as we go down. Kevin Durant right now is at number 14. I'm sure James Harden is around here somewhere. He's up to 27 already, and he's probably got some more points in the bank. But even James Harden is only at 24,000 points. So I just did some rough calculations. Giannis, he would have to, let's just say this is a pretty conservative average, but let's say he goes at around 1,800 points per season, which he's been above that for the last 7 seasons now. So that's a decent mark, 1,800. He would have to play another 8 seasons roughly to get to 30,000 points, which is a humongous number. And in fact, there are only 7 guys that have topped that now. 8 years at 1,800 points, Justin. Is that taking it too far? He would be around 35, 36. We know the way he plays. You hope physically he holds up.
Yeah, like with Giannis, it's just the fact that he came into his own and became this version of Giannis so late into his career, relatively speaking, to these other guys. I mean, the names that you pointed out are guys that just came into the league and really started to score from day one. I haven't looked at very deeply into the calculations, but if you had to choose one younger guy of like, well, who maybe not even past LeBron, but who could make it interesting, it kind of seems like the obvious would be Luka Doncic, that he's going to finish the season probably at like 85, close to 9,000 career points. And this is what his 5th year. So if he keeps up that pace and can put up 9,000 points every 5 years, I mean, it's a marvel at what LeBron was able to do, but guys that just come in and just score at a high volume and really do it from day one, he seems like the most logical choice. But I don't know. I don't think any of us thought Kareem would get past, and yet here we are. It speaks to the longevity of LeBron and just how special he was from day one. Even with scoring going up the rate that it has, I just have a hard time seeing anybody put together a 20-year career and passing LeBron there.
Well, Giannis is in year 10, so that's the other thing. I mean, Giannis he should top. Yeah, he will. He'll top 16,000 this season, which is insane. But so if you give him another 10 years, which is what LeBron's played, I mean, he's still falling short, but he's comfortably over that 30,000 mark. So the idea that Giannis is even where he is right now is absurd. As I was just going through that list, how many points would you just, and I'm putting you on the spot, Camille, because it's what we do here. I can't help myself. How many points do you think Steph Curry has right now? It's a surprising number for me.
Ooh, you said Giannis was at what? 15?
15.5, roughly.
Steph's he's gotta be past the 20 mark, right? Like, I would think he's probably around 22-ish. That would be my guess.
He's just ticked over 21.
Yeah.
Which is just interesting because, you talk about the great scorers, and he's done it with the 3-point shot as well, and he can score in a variety of ways. But Giannis, to this point, even over the course of his NBA career, he's only made 474 threes. I say only. I mean, that's a lot of threes, but he's only 474 compared to Steph, wherever he's at, 2,300 or whatever that might be there. So that's the other element to this. And this is, people talk about it from how does Giannis change the way he plays and how does he extend his career and all those types of things. But just from pure raw point totals as well, he gets to the free throw line, but not shooting a lot of threes does make it harder to accumulate these points. But he's on pace to be right with all the all-time great big men when it comes to point scoring totals. Even Shaq scored 28.5. So Giannis is absolutely on pace to score more points than Shaq.
Well, Shaq kind of came in a different beast, different animal at that time as well. So I was curious where Shaq was, because that's someone who did it without the 3-point line. He just willed his way on the inside over and over, and he wasn't even a good free throw shooter. So he left a lot of points on the board that he could have had clicking up that leaderboard.
Bucks and Pacers tomorrow, Justin. Any chance we let's set the over and under at 14.5 turnovers? What are you taking?
For the Bucks or for the Bucks defense?
Well.
Boy, if this season is any indication, I would have to take the over there. And it seemed like they finally started to slowly remedy that. And then all of a sudden the last 2 games happened. So look, I feel pretty confident in saying if the Bucks are under 13 turnovers, they're going to win the game against the Pacers, especially as of right now. We assume that Giannis and Chris and Jrue are going to play the game, but for whatever reason, it's still there. And your guy too, Joe Ingles, I was just talking with Dave during the game about, as frustrating as the turnovers are, the one thing is you don't have any of those types of lazy passes or the head scratching. What are we doing here with this entry pass from Joe Ingles? And just as it comes out of my mouth, we had the one Joe Ingles turnover in the game last night where it was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, some of them have been head scratches. One last point. I mentioned Giannis with 474 threes. Shaq only made 1 3 in his career. So let's give the man some credit. 28K points with just the one a 3-point make there as well. Make sure you check out the Locked On Game to Game podcast. Get your recaps from all around the league in terms of what's happening from the experts. A little 60-second recap. So it's very easy to listen to, and you get the main talking point that you won't just see off the box score, but perhaps what the storylines are for the teams. I know mine for the game yesterday was the turnovers. So which may shock fans that aren't fans of the Bucks. So listen to Locked On Game to Game wherever you get your podcast. Last one for you, Camille. Chris Middleton, does he start tomorrow?
I hope so. I really hope so.
Just do it. Like, even if his minutes are short, just start him.
Yeah, I would like to see him start tomorrow. I
agree. Camille, you've done us all a great service today, and now go hit the club. Hit the club. And but be safe. That's our main message to you as you head out to a 30th, I believe. Your brother's 30th. Happy birthday to your brother.
For sure. And I do also want to say before we got a happy birthday to my brother. Justin, I know your birthday is also coming up.
It is, yeah.
So happy early birthday, and then happy early birthday to the husband, because it's all like back to back to back.
Yeah.
What about me?
Are you January as well?
No, August.
Okay, I didn't think so. I was like, this doesn't feel right. Yeah.
Never too early. It can never be too early. All right. We're going to my plan is to podcast tomorrow after this Bucks and Pacers game. So like I said, subscribe and you'll know when we go live. We'll put this podcast up. We appreciate your support along the way. For Justin, Camille, myself, we'll catch you all tomorrow.